This episode of Grilled is sponsored by Rationale, your leading provider in multifunctional hot food preparation equipment. Register now for a free Rationale live demo at www.rationale-online.com.
The Staff Canteen now has its own shop, so you can get your hands on as much merch as you want. From mugs, t-shirts to these hoodies, which you'll see myself and any of the guests on our podcast wearing throughout. Go and take a look. The link is below, and please do give us a thumbs up if you do decide to purchase anything. Finally, we are giving away one hoodie per episode for the next 6 episodes with my co-host, Daniel Clifford. You can find out how to win at the end of this podcast.
Welcome to the Staff Canteen podcast with Cara. Her language is terrible, but don't be offended. It's worth a listen because this day and age, everybody swears apart from myself.
Welcome to Grilled.
I want to eat under roast whenever I want to eat under roast, not when you want me to eat it.
I just remember Brad's smell of his beard. You just had a biggest, fluffiest beard, and I was like, God, he smells so good. I don't know why, it's weird. Sometimes you put smell or something to it, and I just remember that. Well, it's a bit bizarre.
Why are you in your chef's white cellar? You're working.
I'm cooking burgers.
Oh, burgers. I hope they're not McDonald's.
And I just lash it all over the hot toast as it melts and quickly munch it up, crunchy, crunchy, munchy.
Dying to get like a piece of your culinary penis in or around their mouth.
Welcome to Grilled, a podcast by the Staff Canteen. I'm Cara, editor of the Staff Canteen, and I'm pleased and very excited to say that this is the 3rd episode in our series with Daniel Clifford. He's back. We took a bit of a break from recording with Daniel, so if you missed the first 2 episodes, they are available to catch up now, just wherever you download your podcasts. Daniel, how are you, and what have you been up to in the past 2 months that I haven't spoken to you?
I've been sorting out, I'm really well actually. The business is absolutely amazing. Staffing is touch and go, but we get through every week as we do. Well, today we are interviewing an absolute legend in my eyes. He's a man that introduced me to goats, but also introduced me to having fun in the kitchen. I think he changed the way that I looked at my career because I cooked alongside him on the Great British Menu. We both went to the banquet. His name is Michael Smith. To me, he is everything that I wanted to be as a chef because he introduced me to having fun and cooking in a different style, but an amazing style. And his ability as a chef is absolutely mind-blowing because what he does is he brings all of the techniques that he's learned from his wife from his career to cooking with a unique style of sharing, and it's just beautiful. And I remember tasting Michael's goat dish at the Great British Menu, and we all just stood back and said, right, main course is done, he's won. And what a character. And to spend that time with him was some of the best times in a kitchen I've ever had. So yeah, Michael Smith, everybody.
Brilliant. Michael, welcome to Grilled. What an intro.
I know, what kind words, Daniel. That's very flattering. I have to say,
Michael, you know, we only met then, and it was what a week it was. It was finals week. We had some absolute legends in the kitchen, and we had so much fun. It's such a shame that they don't video the bits you can't see, because they put on the telly the serious bits, but it was so much fun that week. The thing about the Great British Menu is, back in the day, it gave you an opportunity to have a real insight into how other people cooked. It was like doing a stage in 8 different people's kitchens because they were so open about their food and they were so open about their cooking techniques. You know, how often do you get the chance to be in a kitchen with Tom Aikins, Aidan Burns, Michael, and these personalities, but also, you know, you're having a real in-depth look at what they're doing. And I'll be honest with you, we had so much fun. It was, Aidan had a bottle of rum. It was Pink Pigeon, wasn't it?
Oh,
was it Pink Pigeon?
Pink Pigeon, yeah.
Pink Pigeon. And he needed it for his dessert. And obviously dessert day, everyone gets really relaxed. And once you've done your thing, we all started drinking this pink pigeon out of the dry stores. Little did we know that he hadn't actually kept any for his actual dish. So me and Michael were 3/4 cut before, and then he was running around like a lunatic looking for this pink pigeon, but we drunk the lot. So it was brilliant. That's the bits you should see on the telly.
I would say, actually, Cara, when Daniel got in contact and said, "Would you like to join this podcast?" and I said, "Yeah, of course." I haven't seen him for ages. We haven't spoken for ages, but I suspected that he might want to chat about Great British menu, and I think we could probably do it this whole podcast just talking about that week we spent, Daniel.
I'm intrigued by these outtakes. I think the BBC have missed a trick.
Oh, 100%. I think, do you know, it's just what it is you have an insight into the way other people think, and you get this downtime in between cooking your dishes to spend time with people and talk about their career, but also about where they work and the produce that they get. And it is literally like it's the healthiest thing you can do, because you actually have an insight into how other people think and how other people work. And I met Michael's wife at the banquet, and you know, every time you see him, it's like you are connected together. You are there is something, these great memories. Even though it was just a week, it was a week that you'll never get back. It's a week that, you know, I think I remember his donut dish, and it came out, and originally he wanted to do it under the kilts, so you had to eat the donuts under the kilts, and the BBC weren't too happy about that, so he changed it. But to see all the mega chefs, and you know, we're quite good chefs ourselves, but to be in the kitchen with these people that, you know, like Phil Howard and people like that, you know, you feel like a young commie again. You feel like, Jesus, I shouldn't be in this room, but it's what an amazing opportunity.
No, I'm just enjoying hearing you still being so enthusiastic about it.
Well, I loved it. I think the end of the day is I'm stuck in Cambridge. I don't see many people. I don't get out.
Yeah, no,
I think.
I remember us both standing outside the hotel we were staying in one evening. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then we were just having a chef bag out, you know, outside the front door there, Cara. And that I was already out there, and we'd been filming that day. After the first day, Daniel, right?
Yeah.
And Daniel was a bit upset. He was, you know, he was a little bit stressed, and he was on the phone to his to somebody back, you know, his PA or somebody like that. I thought, is that, and I could hear that. I mean, I didn't know Daniel really at this stage. I just knew him as being, you know, like he's saying, you know, this 2-star legend, and I'm just this little jock chef coming down from up in the Isle of Skye, and I'm thinking, this guy's upset. You know, we're doing Great British Menu. It's an amazing opportunity. And I think Daniel came off the phone, and we had a little chat, didn't we, Daniel?
Yeah.
And we kind of bonded from there. Daniel was, you know, stressed out, and I was just like, come on, Daniel, we'll have a cigarette. You know, we're on Great British Menu. We're representing our regions. I was representing Scotland. We should just go in the kitchen, forget about the cameras, forget about all the rest of it. The brief that year was really great, Cara, because it was comic relief. And my interpretation of that was it was a perfect opportunity to have a laugh and have some humor, not be, you know, a macho chef taking himself too seriously, all that kind of stuff. It was a perfect opportunity. And I think I said that to Daniel. We kind of clicked after that. And boy, we went in there, and it was brilliant fun, Daniel. I think that came across in the final
100%.
edit. And can I speak about a couple of my outstanding memories from memories of my Cara?
Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can.
Well,
that's why we're here.
That was my first memory of Daniel, meeting Daniel, having a cigarette outside, both kind of feeling our way, trying to get a head around it. We kind of clicked then, and we went back in the kitchen that next day, and it felt really good that I'd kind of bonded with Daniel, and he was there, and we were both kind of looking out for each other, because it can get a bit tense in there. And there was a little bit there's a little bit of peacockery, and everyone's trying to find their place in the kind of social standing within the kitchen, and it's all a bit, there's a little bit of argy-bargy. But Daniel, I think it was the fish course the next day, and Daniel had his heart set on his fish course, right, Daniel? That was the one. And he was making an intricate fish basket, like a fish net out of potato, which was it took you about an hour just to make one, Daniel, right?
Yeah, it was
unbelievably intricate. and he had his heart set on it. That's the one dish I think Daniel really thought was going to get through. And I can just remember when he was coming to play up and he was being filmed, and all the chefs were around him watching, because the production crew had set it up that way, obviously, to intensify the pressure on Daniel. And his hands were shaking. I mean, they were really, really shaking. So much so that he could barely get these fragile, beautiful potato nets on top of his dish. And I think some chefs are kind of thinking, oh, look, Daniel's shaking, he's got the shakes, and they're taking the mick out of it. And I remember Daniel saying, yeah, it's because I care. And I thought, good on you, Daniel. You're showing a bit of vulnerability there, and you're showing that you actually really want this. And I really respected that, because he was under so much pressure. And it didn't really come across in the final edit on TV. But at the time, I know, Daniel, you were really feeling it.
Yeah.
But he said, it's because I care about what I'm doing. And actually, the fish course didn't do as well as Daniel hoped. It was a beautiful dish. I think it was a halibut with the oyster. And
it was turbot with caviar.
The turbot with the caviar. It was a beautiful dish, but the judges, for whatever reason, they didn't go for it. And I think Daniel was a bit deflated after that. But after that, he thought, you know what? I'm just gonna have the best time I can in the studio. And that ended up with his dessert being picked, actually, to go to the final, yeah. Richard Davis. And you were so shocked. He was and the Daniel that I saw, Cara, which some people might not see, is he was vulnerable. He was very sensitive to make sure that he was doing the best that he could, and he was very sweet. And I thought, what a nice guy. Yeah. But he's also authentic, and he wants to cook the best food that he can in any circumstance. So I imagine I could relate to that, and I could see that Daniel, whether he's poaching an egg or he's doing an intricate fish course with turbot and caviar, he puts his heart and soul into it. And he whatever he does, he's so passionate about it. That's why I related to it. And I think we both maybe saw that in each other. I'm not sure, but that final, Tom, Aidan, you, me, Richard, it was like they threw everything at us. And it didn't bother any of us. We were just like, yeah, we're going to make this happen, whatever happens. And we came together like the best team in the world. And the thing is everyone's personalities the egos got left at the door, and everyone just helped everyone. It was just an amazing. And the thing is about the Great British Menu is you put yourself through all this pressure, and there's all this talk of how do you feel? You've got to the banquet. It's comic relief. All of these people that have done so much for comic relief, and you put so much effort into it. 2 days of prep and the service, and the lift was broken, and everything. They chucked the kitchen sink at us, going to get the produce, dressing up, everything, and when it's finished, you're ending up sitting in this poxy bar in the hotel with 4 chefs. And it's like the most surreal moment in the world, because the end of the day it's all done, but you don't even have the memories only come back about 6 months later, because you don't actually get to meet many people. You don't get, because you're so damn busy. And it was just, the relationships forged are, I didn't know Michael. I met Michael. Now when I see, I remember when he got the star and he couldn't come to the Michelin Awards, and his wife came, and I knew his wife because of the Great British Menu. So it was lovely to be able to go over and talk to her, congratulate her, say hello to Michael. Because the thing is this industry it's great because you have, I class Michael as a good friend, but he's someone you don't see for 2-3 years. But then when you see him, you've got this massive connection through the experience that we've shared together, which is
is phenomenal, really. Chef, how's COVID been?
COVID's been okay, thank you. We've got a tiny restaurant, Daniel. Last year when we were able to reopen, we had 4 tables.
Wow.
We were doing 8 covers, but that's better than nothing, right? So,
yeah.
So now we're running at 6 tables. We've got such a small space here, so we've had to be super careful, and we're being as careful as possible. And we were following all the guidelines. Up in Scotland, we've got slightly different guidelines to you guys down there, I think. So we're still masking up as people come in and out the restaurant, and they're moving about in pubs and in restaurants. They still have to be masked up. I think that's still a good thing. I think we still have to be cautious, and we don't want to go into winter in the next few weeks with any, we want to minimize the risk of having any more shutdowns.
Yeah.
That would just be that would be catastrophic. So we got through it. We were doing all sorts last year. I think the thing with the COVID, I was watching you on Staff Canteen a lot at the beginning of the first lockdown, and you were talking about how you find it a great opportunity, probably a unique opportunity to reevaluate your business, your restaurant, and to use that time of closure to look at what you're good at and look at what you're brilliant at, and then just focus on what you're actually brilliant at, right?
Yeah.
So we tried to be as positive as possible, and we did that at the restaurant here. So we've changed a lot of the ways we run and operate the restaurant as a result of reviewing all our operations during the time of closure.
Well, yeah, the thing is what I found with it is that we never had this opportunity of actually waking up in the morning and not having a time slot to be at work, but to have a very clear vision of where you make money, where you don't make money, what's good for the business, what's good for the staff. Because for me, to have that time off with my family and my children, and to realize that business, it is crucial that the restaurant does well. It's crucial that my staff have an amazing time. But we're 4 days a week now. We open lunch and dinner for 4 days. And I'll be totally honest with you, it doesn't, Saturday night doesn't feel like we're dying anymore. It feels like, I never understood this industry before, because I always said to myself, the end of the week is a Saturday night, but it's the busiest night of the week. That never made any sense to me, because you're knackered by Saturday. But now Saturday night comes and it's like, we're all still buzzing. We're all, we could do another service. It's really a real positive place to be, because we've made so many changes for the staff to be happier, for the customers to be happier. The dietary requirements are all sorted now. The wine list has been sorted. And I'll be totally honest with you, it's made me a happier person, because I feel more in control of my business, which is the most positive thing in the world. Now I stand there and I look at my staircase and I look at the things that we did during COVID, and it feels like a lifetime away. It feels like we've been open, we're making profit, things are going really well. The most depressing thing is the staffing crisis. Is there a staffing crisis up there? Well, no one needs to be up, do they? So you've got them by the balls there.
You'd like to think so, but the staffing crisis is, nationwide. It's up and down the country. To be honest, it's always been like that up here. I mean, you're talking about on Skye, getting staff here. The first question I used to ask people, Daniel, when they came for a job was, do you have a car? Can you drive? And have you got your own car? That was before where have you worked, what chefs are you into, etc. They needed to be able to get themselves around, because there's no infrastructure here. So staffing's always been an issue here. And I think...
Michael, for anyone who's not been to Skye, describe it?
Skye's the largest island of the Inner Hebrides off the west coast of Scotland. It's 100 miles long. It's got mountains. It's got majestic... It's a mythical island. It's known throughout the world, that the mystic Isle of Skye. It's absolutely gorgeous place, but it's the wilderness. So from Cambridge, or it would probably be a 9-hour drive to get here. It's faster to get to New York from London than it is to get to where I'm sitting right now. So we're a bit, people think, when they come here, they think, you know, I'm at the edge of the world. I'm completely isolated. How am I going to survive? And maybe some young staff might think that to begin with. But if you're into the wilderness, that's brilliant. If you love going out fishing, like what me and Daniel do, it's on your doorstep. If you love working with the finest seafood, the best seafood in the world at source, then you would want to come and work in the Isle of Skye. And the reason that I'm still here after 18 years is because I love the wilderness, I love the space, I love the outdoors, and I also get to work with the finest, the best scallops, oysters, lobsters, langoustine, you name it, it comes straight out of the water at source and comes straight into our restaurant and the restaurants on the Skye before it gets on the lorry. So we get it, you know, as fresh as possible. That's why I'm still here, and that's why I love it. And I'm fortunate enough to own a tiny, small restaurant on the island. Unfortunately, because we're so small, from a staffing point of view, it's me. so I'm the commie, the chef de partie, the sous chef, the head chef, the exec chef, and the owner. And sometimes the kitchen porter. We've got a brilliant core team here, so there's 5 of us in total, and we're kind of unique. I think the average age of staff here is 52, Daniel.
All right.
Yeah. So we might be the oldest chef brigade or restaurant team. but we're delighted with that.
Yeah, of course you are. They all turn up at that age.
Yeah. So you know, we're delighted with that. But we don't need the staff so much. But I know Callum up the road at Edinburgh Lodge. He's just gone down to a 4-day week from October because he can't staff the business. He used to have a lot of Europeans working for him. A lot of Europeans used to love coming and traveling over here, and they would spend a season on Skye and then stay. So that's been a major factor. So there's all the problems that you've got just now with staff, lorries, deliveries, etc. It's pretty much normal for us.
Every day week, yeah.
And always has been on Skye.
Your children, raising your children on an island like that, do they enjoy that?
They enjoy it up until they kind of hit mid-teens, Daniel.
Yeah.
Margot, our daughter, as soon as she could, she was out here. She
doesn't live on the island anymore.
No, not at all. No, she moved away 5 years ago.
All right, okay.
So she's actually back at the moment just for a short stay, but she moved away 5 years ago and she went straight down to Edinburgh. No, when they're young, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like your girls, they would have loved it.
Yeah.
Up until mid-teens, when there isn't any shopping malls, there's no cinema. Well, there is, but it's an hour's drive away. The
cinema's an hour away.
Everything's an hour's drive away from where we.
I mean, that's one way to keep kids out of trouble, isn't it? Just move them to an island in the outer.
Yeah. Michael, was you born there?
I wasn't born in Skye. I'm from Inverness, so that's
okay.
Still up north. So from the Highlands. I'm from the Highlands. See, that's what used to freak me out. That I was coming down to the big London town with 2 Michelin-starred chefs, Daniel Clifford, Tom Aikens, and I'm like, I was blagging it the whole way. I was just like, going, all right, boys, how's it going? And inside I was going,
no. Yeah, but the thing is you did your talking with the food. That was the difference. When that, the goat dish and the donut dish, they were massive contenders because they had personality. And I think that's the thing that we all learned from that show is food needs personality.
The Staff Canteen Awards are back and they are bigger and better than last year. We've included 2 new categories, which are Member of the Year and Front of House Team of the Year. Nominations are now open. So if you know anyone, including yourself, who deserves one of our gold mugs, head to www.thestaffcanteen.com/TSC-awards and nominate now.
Well, actually, one of the questions, because I have got some questions from the audience, is about this donut dish.
Yeah.
From Chef Prov, that's off Instagram, your Great British Menus are, and you touched on this, Daniel, but we didn't really go into detail. So originally you wanted the donuts under the kilt, correct?
Okay, so the idea for the dessert was I was going to go down the route of donuts. And I wanted to be able to say on camera, I'd love Prue Leith to nibble my nuts. Right? That's right. And the dessert title was Get Your Hands Off My Nuts. In Scotland, there's a tradition, Cara, it's called duking for apples, or donut, duking for apples, right? So you stick your head in a barrel and you try and bite the apple out. That's a genuine thing. So that's where the idea came from, get your hands off my nuts. And that it just went from there. But of course, the day before filming, the production came up and went, "You can't do it. The BBC aren't having it. It's too much." And they did it throughout that filming. And I think I might have had a few words with the producers. Anyway, so we had to change the whole dessert. But the idea was. The donuts were dangling, and I wanted the 3 judges to lift up the kilts, and there was 2 donuts dangling under each kilt, and they were gonna nibble it. And I didn't think it was a contender.
I thought that was fucking genius.
That is TV gold.
I thought it was genius.
Yeah, but Daniel, at that stage, I didn't care. I wasn't bothered. I just wanted, that was purely just to have a laugh. Have an absolute giggle. So yeah, that was the idea behind that one. But it was, because obviously everyone, has a massive crush on Prue. So
yeah,
and they did actually do it.
And to be honest with you, you'd probably be one of the first chefs who's licked their nuts.
Oh God!
I hope so. But we were being cheeky. I remembered Daniel's. So when he got to the main course, Daniel wasn't happy with his main course, the first one he did.
Yeah.
And a touch of genius I thought was Daniel changed his main course. And was it eat your own words or eat your words?
Yeah, I did it in their books.
So what Daniel did, which was just as cheeky, if not cheekier, than me nibbling nuts, was he took a recipe from each one of the judges' books. I don't think people remember this, but I thought, well, that's a brave.
I cut out their books, didn't I?
So he had each one of their books, Matthew Fort, Prue Leith, and Oliver's. Took a recipe and he cooked a 2 Michelin-starred chef cooked. So they couldn't judge it really.
They couldn't criticise it because it was out of their fucking books.
And that was
all I can say is they didn't win because obviously the recipes weren't good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the beef dish was, I remember tasting it, and the beef dish was delicious, but I think that was your beef dish pretending to.
Yeah. I think I sort of tweaked it. I threw their recipes away, but
that was a cheeky cheeky maneuver, but I thought that was a brave move, and they didn't like it. They weren't too chuffed about it.
No. The thing is, they're very. They like to sit on their high horses, the judges.
Well, they used to. Now they're
now they've been given the boot.
There's a new guard.
It's a new lineup, isn't it?
Yeah.
Be interesting. Yeah. Sticking with TV, Jerry Klim wants to know, Daniel, any update on the burger can guy you worked with for a Channel 4 TV show a while back?
Cole, we text each other every 3 months. He opened a burger business, but I think COVID put the end to that. I think he's lost a lot of weight. I think he's not in the food business anymore.
Ah.
I think he's decided that cooking wasn't his thing. Very interesting format, very interesting program. I think taking anyone from a normal environment and putting them into our environment is going to be a massive culture shock. I think there was lots of things happened on that program that you didn't see. He quit 5 times over the 4-week period, and I felt like I was bringing him back. I spent most of the time talking to him and not actually showing him how to cook. But you know, it was an amazing program. I enjoyed doing it. It was a very stressful part of my life as well, because things were changing in my private life. So it was. But yeah, I still speak to Carl. He's still a nice guy. He comes to eat probably once every 2 years. So yeah, we're still in contact.
Okay.
I try my best to stay in contact with everyone. It's just difficult because, you know, at the end of the day is I've got enough kids to last a lifetime as well. So they have to come first. So
I wanted to ask this question, not to annoy you, Daniel, but I want a perspective from both of you. So from Dylan Mapletoft, why is Midsummer so expensive even for a 2-star restaurant? Now, my point of asking this question is, why do people have this perception, not just of your restaurant, of any restaurant and the food industry? Because I think maybe we've talked about it before, where people maybe don't understand, you know, what goes into that. So that's the reason for asking the question.
If you want the truth, I'm a very open book, mate. Well, I've got 35 staff for 42 customers. You know, you do the ratio there, it's a lot. We use the best of the best produce. A scallop now costs me £4 just for the scallop. You look at, we serve a fillet of beef for the main course, that's £6.50 cost to the business. Caviar, truffles, everything. You look at the produce that we're using. You know, langostine's like £4.50 now. Beautiful prawns, they're not cheap. Nothing's cheap that comes in the door. And the end of the day is the labour the labour cost is absolutely astronomical. But also on top of that, you know, when you sit down and the first thing you get at Midsummer House is a glass of Krug. So realistically, Krug, you know, I don't buy Krug at a cheap price. I pay top dollar for Krug because it's one of the best champagnes in the world. So the end of the day is, for me, Midsummer House is a once in a lifetime experience. It's a restaurant that you won't come back to every 6 months. I had someone text me last week or Instagram me last week and said, "Yo, Daniel, we had an amazing meal. We're now saving up to come back." And I went back to them and said, "Thank you very much, but don't come back for a year. Give us an opportunity to change the menus and change what we do, because, you know," and I said to them, "There's lots of other 2-stars out there. Go to them and experience what they do, because, you know, I'm not a greedy person. I just, I want to be here next year and I need to make profit. Profit is not a dirty word. You know, when your plates are costing you £120 a plate, you know, your cutlery, you know, my cutlery cost me £100,000. I have to look at, you know, this has been a lifetime investment for me. It's something, it's a business that I've constantly ploughed everything back into it. I don't live in a massive house. We don't pay ourselves silly money. What we do is we make money, but we also reinvest it back into the business. And Midsummer has grown and grown and grown, but that's grown because I think we keep ourselves in a level. And I think, you know, everyone compares the prices in the UK, but if you go to Paris, a main course will cost you £180 in a 2-3-star restaurant in Paris, just a main course. You're talking about, you know, I went to Paris for a meal with Tom and Sat and Claude, and our bill was £900 each. Now, we didn't have any fancy wine. We just had 4 courses in a 3-star restaurant, and we all walked away from there and said, yeah, it's full. And what people need to understand now is chefs aren't paid peanuts anymore. They're paid good salaries because they're not the run-of-the-mill people anymore. These are experts in their own field. So for me, the wages that have been increased into the business to make people actually attracted to work here, but also, you know, people need to buy houses, they need a life. And this industry has been notorious of not giving people lives. And I think my pricing structure makes sure that everybody's happy, the staff, the customers, and the business can carry on in the future. So I don't think I'm expensive. I think at the end of the day is what you actually get when you eat here. I think it's good value for money. I know I took my kids out for an Indian last week. Yeah, it was 320 quid. And that's a table of 5, 320 quid. And you stand there and you think to yourself, that's an Indian, yeah? So realistically, am I expensive? Absolutely not.
You know, well said, Daniel. And everything that Daniel said, I completely agree with. It's up to people themselves to decide whether something's expensive or not. Nothing has an inherent value, but value is the key word. So if you value an excellent dining experience, if that's something you want to use your money for, then it's not a question of being expensive or not. So you've decided to buy it and you buy into it. So the key words for me are profitability and value. People think restaurants, because they charge a certain price point, make a huge amount of profit. They don't. If restaurants do make profit, then it's great. If they break even most of the time, you know, a lot of restaurants will exist at that level. So restaurants need to make profit so they can employ people, they can pay suppliers, they can support suppliers, and all of those things. But they don't make them. The margins are tight, Daniel, at any level, right? I think it's wrong for people to say, why are you so expensive? It's like, well, this is the price. If you want to spend your money doing that, that's up to you. We're not making a huge amount of profit by doing this, and we're working long hours. We're working, you know, in a tough environment, and we're not getting paid a huge amount of money because we're not making a huge amount of profit.
No.
So please come and support restaurants if that's what you want to do. If that's how you want to spend your money, then we're here for you.
I think I think it's an experience, and I think you're paying for a theatre experience, and you're paying for a night out that's going to blow your mind. And I think the end of the day is I don't think it's an every week situation. I think it's you know, if I go to somewhere like Claude's, you know, I get properly dressed up, and I know how much I'm going to spend, and I've already accepted that I'm going to spend that money because I'm going out to treat myself. It's a proper treat. It's like, you know, I remember my first meal after lockdown. It was like, wow, you know, I felt really special going out, and I felt a privilege. And you know, my wage bill is £100,000 a month. You work that out. That's £1.2 million a year. And you stand back from that, and you ask yourself the question of, you know, if I have a couple of bad weeks in January or in November, it blows everything that you've done in the summer out of the water. And I think the end of the day is restaurants have become, they've become nice places to work. They're not this aggressive, horrible kitchens anymore. We are now staff well-being is very, very important. We try our best to look after everybody that works here. There's lots that go on here that no one sees. I've got a waiter that's an alcoholic. Okay, he's an alcoholic. He's quit 3 times on me. He's gone off on absolute benders. And do you know what? I treat him like my son, and I'm paying for him to go to see someone to get some help, because he's got this amazing ability. When he's here, he's got this amazing ability to fit into the team, and he's a massive part of the team. And you know what? We all want to see him blossom. And that's the thing is I see it now as I'm building the superstars of the future, and I'm a relic. I've done my bit. You know, I feel like I'm 48 now, And I see the young generation coming through my kitchen, and it's my job to push them, but also that they don't need the hardship that I went through. They need this is a springboard to help them future their careers. So yeah, they want to buy a house, they want to buy a car. As you said, running a car is an expensive thing. You have to pay them properly now, and that is a knock-on effect. And I think the end of the day is that the world needs to come into some understanding of we might not be in Europe, but we are buying European ingredients. As you said, the langoustines that come off the boat there are the best in the world, but they haven't got the shipping costs. They haven't got the polystyrene boxes. They haven't got someone driving it up and down the motorway. They haven't got the ice packs. They haven't got the pressure. You get these beautiful langoustines that, you know, I would probably cry if they came into my kitchen, because I'd never seen an ingredient like that. But at the end of the day is for me to get them, I'm probably paying 4 times the price of what you are, because the shipping and all of that goes with it. And the end of the day is that's what, you know, I'm in Cambridge, we're surrounded by fields. The nearest sea to me is about 120 miles away. So realistically, everything is a cost. And I'm not ashamed that I want to make some money myself. That's the truth. I want my kids to understand why I've done this. I don't feel selfish. I feel positive, because profit means that I can push the restaurant forward. That's the only reason. You look at my accounts for the last 10 years, there hasn't been much taken out by the directors, especially over the last 2 years. I'll be honest with you, we've invested heavily personally to keep it open. So it's, whoever answers that question, it's a good question, but I'm very happy and confident with my prices that I'm full every day. So people are enjoying it.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask the question. I wanted to kind of, it's not just a number that you pluck out of thin air, is it?
Tom Perry's getting a lot of grief over the price of his steak, yeah, and he's yesterday on Instagram it was flying around that Salt Bees, whatever his name is, the geezer that does the salt, the prices for his restaurant and a steak is £630. Well, there you go.
Is that the one that's covered in gold leaf?
Do you want a steak cooked by Mickey Mouse, or do you want to come to a 2-star restaurant where, you know, you've got 15 chefs that care about everything that they do? There's a big difference, isn't there? I don't think we're expensive.
I think on the whole, after COVID and the lockdowns, generally speaking, the British public really appreciate more now having restaurants and having the opportunity to go out, like Daniel said, and have an experience, maybe once in a lifetime, maybe once a year. But when that was taken away from the general public, I think they really missed it. So in the whole, I think people are really grateful that they, like Daniel said, his restaurant's full, there'll be waiting lists. So expense is relative, and being able to go out and do something, when it's taken away from you, people realize the value of it. And now it's come back, you know, prices and everything have gone through the roof. And restaurants, after all of the work that they put into making that experience, don't make a huge amount of profit. The margins are really.
I'll give you an example. Pre-COVID, turbot was £19 a kilo. After COVID, it's £32 a kilo. I can't explain any more than that. If that is just one product, then you go on to, let's go on to cheese. Cheese has doubled in price. Butter has gone up by at least a third. Olive oil. Think about everything, you know, I'll be honest with you, we serve Krug, yeah? So we serve a glass of Krug to every customer that walks into the restaurant. Today, we got an email this morning, Krug are having problems with their shipping. We've got a contract, we signed a contract with them, so that everything's in place. And they've turned around and said, we can only get you 12 cases this week. Now, the end of the day is, they're meant to be supplying me 20 cases a week. Now, that is a knock-on effect of what's going on out there, but people don't see the stress that causes a restaurant here. Like 4 or 5 weeks ago, my PA was going around Cambridge to all of the wine merchants and everywhere trying to buy bottles of Prue just so we could serve the customers. They don't see what goes on behind the scenes. That's the absolute truth. If they could see that, you know, the time spent ironing and doing the garden and painting and decorating and you know, 4 kitchen porters I have, 4 kitchen porters. That's madness. You know, when I opened this, we had 1 and we worked him until he dropped dead. But the end of the day is now you've got to give people they want a life. And the thing is the worst bit about this business is at senior management level, they're working harder than they've ever worked before, because there is this, it's not this glory you walk in and everything's set. You're the one with the stress and the worry and the pressure that no one else in the business sees, because you're the one that's worrying about, oh, have we got enough of this? Or like Mark come to me this morning and said, Chef, we haven't got enough scallops. What should we do? Because the boats aren't going out. Why are the boats not going out? The divers are saying that the easterly winds are too strong. And it's all just, it's a very stressful environment, but it's more management stress now than it is in the kitchen, because we have enough staff, because we make sure we have enough staff, because we take the pressure off them, because I don't want that aggressive environment anymore. I want an environment where people can learn to cook the best produce at, you know, if they overcook 4 scallops, we ain't going to serve them, are we? So the end of the day is they go in the bin, you start again, and that's another cost to the business. Everything is a cost. Buying grass seed is a cost. Buying, you know, it's to keep a business at this level. It's an expensive project, but I still love it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we still love it, don't we?
Love it, love it.
That was one of my questions, actually. Why do you both love it so much?
Why do I love it? I love it because I'm actually proud of myself now. I'm proud. I haven't been, but I am now, and I think that's down to my children, because my daughters now are 23, 21 next month, and 18, and then I've got a couple of little ones. But my older ones, you know, they've been coming to Midsummer since they were like 3 or 4, and I used to pick them up every Wednesday. They would come in, do some drawing while I did the meat prep. And they've grown up with it. And from the age of about 4 till about 15, 16, they absolutely hated it. They thought it was, it took me away from them. They didn't understand it. You know, work always came first. But now, you know, my daughter went to Ireland, and she phoned me up and said, Dad, where shall I go? It's her 21st. And I sent her to Michael, and she got looked after like a queen, like an absolute princess. And she got it. She said, Dad, I've just like taken 3 of my friends to probably the best meal of their life. And I'm so pleased that I gave them that opportunity. And she understands the respect the industry gives back to us. Because the end of the day is, you know, Michael's a Scottish hero, yeah? He's like Braveheart in my eyes. And the end of the day is that's how this industry is. I've made friends with people I would never have made friends with. And people say to me, Daniel, when are you going to call it a day? Well, I can't see me calling it a day. Like the girls all say to me, Dad, you know, what's going to happen to Midsummer when you've had enough? I said, well, hopefully Mark will carry it on. And then when Mark's had enough, someone else will carry it on, because, you know, it's a legacy. And I think that legacy is important, because, you know, Cambridge deserves that.
Michael, what about you? Why do you?
Yeah, days I learn every day. I learn every day. That is the truth. I still learn about food every single day, and it's still I'm still absolutely fascinated by just the way things change, the way that milk changes, cream changes, flour changes, the humidity, all of this. It's mind blowing. And when you see something new, it's like a light bulb moment. I love that. Or tasting an amazing glass of wine. You stand there and you taste it, and just like sort of brings tears to your eyes, because you stand back and go, Jesus, life is so precious, because you get these opportunities that no one else would have given me. No other job would have given me this. You know, at the end of the day, sitting in a bank typing fucking on a computer. I'd have knocked someone out. Now I get this beautiful opportunity to cook beautiful food every day.
When I listen to Daniel, Cara, I mean, you can hear the passion in his voice, and he's genuine and sincere, and he's authentic. This is reminding me again of when I was filming GBM with him, because I used to think, this guy's saying out loud everything that's in my head. I just agree. I agree. I think that's why we clicked, Daniel.
Yeah.
We saw something in each other. It's just, there's not many people that genuinely love what they do. And as much as Daniel does, and as I do, every time I cook a bit of fish, every time I peel a prawn or shuck an oyster or a scallop or bake bread, every time I do it, it's still the same magic. You still get inspired by it. You still want to do, have I done this the best I can? Can I make it better? How can I'm going to make this better. I'm going to do it better. And I think both of us have just gone through our careers, not working in the same places, but with the same attitude that we just want to be in it. We just love being in the environment of a restaurant, of a kitchen, and being able to express ourselves through cooking. And I think genuinely, what Daniel and I share in common the most is we've found a way to be able to express ourselves creatively and through cooking. And it doesn't matter what it is, where it is, or what you're doing, as long as we're able to express ourselves and do that. We couldn't do it at school. I was like Daniel, wasn't in school, none of that, but we found somewhere. And this is these are the people that Daniel takes into his restaurant, has done for decades. Young people come in and they might suddenly discover the magic of being able to express themselves creatively by cooking. That's it. Chopping an onion, frying it in butter perfectly, seasoning it. That's it. And you just take it service to service, day to day, month to month, year to year. And then to his absolute credit, after more than 2 decades, Daniel's got Midsummer House, which is obviously tangible when you read his book, but it's there and it's inspiring the industry, it's inspiring young people. And he's got people like Mark, and he's got people like Scott Fricker and then Mark Poynton and all these guys who have gone on to do great things. That's a credit to Daniel's genuine, authentic passion for chopping onions.
Well, I still see these people, Michael, and these people, do you know, when Scott comes back from South Africa, I still, he comes to my house and we cook on open fire and he's bollocking me. He's telling me, chef, you don't start a fire like this, you do it like this. And I'll be honest with you, I stand back and I go, okay, big boy, show me. And he does it and I'm like, yeah, you're not as stupid as you look. Yeah, you're absolutely, you're right. And the other day is, I still get semi-hard about it. I look at it and I just think to myself, this is fucking amazing. I'm learning. Last week I was in Portugal with my kids and I'd had a few drinks in the morning and I'd bought this rib of beef because it was her birthday. And I was standing there barbecuing this piece of beef and over coals. For me, I'm relatively new to this. Yeah, I've done a bit of barbecue in my time, but an outside barbecue over coals. And I'm looking up and over on this, like probably about 300-400 meters away, there's an olive tree. Yeah. And I said to my youngest daughter, I said, pop over there and get me a couple of branches, sweetheart, will you? What do you mean, Dad? I said, well, look, over the wall. Yeah, and the wall's about 7 foot high. So I'm pushing her up this wall to get over the wall. She grabs these 2 olive branches and I soak them in water and whack them on the thing. And I'll be honest with you, I was like, I could cook like this every day because it's just the smell, the aroma, the beef, the flavor, it still had little olives on it, yeah, because they're not quite ready, and they're on, and I'm just standing there thinking to myself, you know, if you could video this and actually, I don't know why that feeling of cooking still gives me goosebumps, still gives me this wow moment, and I think what COVID did for me is it made me cook at home, but cook how I would cook at work with less stress. So like doing a chicken chasseur or doing a beef Wellington or just cooking a roasted leg of lamb or a chicken, that I actually had time to teach my children how to do it properly. And now, you know, watching them, my kids can do triple cooked chips better than anyone in my kitchen. Anyone. And I know that for a fact because they follow, they actually listen. Listening is a key thing in our industry. And this is why when the old chefs come back, you know, like Scott and even Mark, you know, Mark will go to Ireland, I'll say to him, oh, you know, what do you do? Oh, this and this. But it's them things that trigger that brain that make you think. And this is the nice thing about spending time with chefs is you learn. You go to places like Skye and you see ingredients and you think to yourself, this is just, they're living a world that we've never lived in. And that's the beauty of cooking.
When you're talking about that special, that feeling of when you're cooking, Daniel, because I remember when Michel Roux Jr. once said, when he retires, all he wants is a shed at the end of his garden with a marble slab and a sugar lamp, and he was just going to spend his hours doing sugar work in retirement. And that was I was a teenager when it was on his, you know, remember Roux at Home, the first show the brothers did on TV. That was one of the first things that made me go, wow, I want to do that. I want to learn how to make a perfect crème anglaise. I want to learn what these you know, French ninjas are doing on the TV. But I remember Michel Roux saying that. He said, when I retire as a chef, I want to do sugar work in a shed at the end of my garden. And I thought, that's because he still loves what he knows that he'll still love what he does.
Yeah.
When he comes to retirement and he wants to carry on doing what he loves doing. And that always inspired me. And I always remind myself now here, I'm really lucky. You know, I'm in my 50s now and I've been able to buy my own restaurant. I own my own restaurant and I cook in my own restaurant. And I always think of Michel Roux doing that. I'm not saying I've retired. No. I wish I could, but the love of what you do, I'm really lucky. I cook every service here, on the stove. I'm cooking, and I'm even more inspired now about everything that I'm doing in the kitchen. It's not easy. It's been super tough. It's been really tough, but I hope there's young people out there now who have got a long-term plan. Do you know what I mean? That they want to come into the industry, they want to learn the trade, the craft. They want to learn the basic skills over a long period of time. They don't want to just come straight into the industry, get a few recipes, you know, understand how to make something with a packagette, whatever, and then they think they've arrived. Young people now in the industry coming into it, they need to work, they need to graft, they need to learn the basic skills that will carry them on through life. And if they can learn to love doing that, they'll have a career for the rest of their lives. And if they're really fortunate enough, they might be able to buy their own business. I think there needs to be more said about young people having a long-term plan in this industry, rather than just getting in and making sure that they're happy and all that kind of stuff. They need to be inspired to have a long game plan. And at the end of it, like I always did, and like you got your own restaurant when you were 25. I was 45 when I bought my restaurant. But we still wanted to do that. We still wanted to get to that point where we had our own business and we could pass that passion and inspiration on. And I think it's awesome that you've been doing that, Daniel. And it's
Michael, cream changes, during the year the cream changes, but the thing is it's taken years to understand that, because it's years of working with cream as the process of the year. And it gets thick. You think to yourself, the cream, the young chef, this is thicker, but they don't ask the question why. And it's people like us that know the answer why, because we've been dealing with it for so many years. And that's the beauty of what we have. Potatoes, as the season changes, the starch content changes, and it's understanding that there's certain points of the year you shouldn't have chips on the menu because the chips are useless. And it doesn't matter what potato you buy, they're all new season, so they're not going to be any good. But understanding that as a chef, and this is the thing about, we talked a lot about this because a couple of years ago, I said I was going to stop doing tasting menus, and then we reverted back. And we reverted back because first of all, we couldn't get the consistency of the produce. Second of all is the stress in the service, that cooking different dishes from different people, because the end of the day is we're trying to teach them to be masters of their craft. And that's the beauty. As you talked about a creme anglaise, I still got the recipe in my head for creme anglaise that I learned when I was 15 years old. And when I'm at home and I say to the missus, oh, let's make custard. She like, custard? And I say, no, yeah, you need 6 eggs, you need 8 ounces. 8 ounces? What's 8 ounces? But it's because that's how the recipe is in my head. It's from back then when I was a kid. Oh, yeah, you need a pint of milk. Oh, right, okay. And the end of the day is everything is stored upstairs because I wasn't very good at writing. And I think this is the thing that the industry has given me. It's given me an opportunity to express myself in a way that no other job would have given me, because I was a failure at school. But at the end of the day is what this industry has given me is an ability to use the things that I was given, and I've expressed that in a great way. And yeah, waking up every day is when something new comes into the kitchen, it's the best feeling in the world.
You know, it can be quite intimidating when you listen to Daniel's passion, right, Cara? Sometimes you're like, whoa. I mean, I get it. I'm exactly the same. I love Daniel so much because he says it all for me. I don't need to say anything.
Well, the podcast doesn't really work like that, Michael. So contribution is welcome.
Do you want another GBM story? I'm just remembering now. We were in the Albert Hall. So Daniel's got his dessert through with Richard. Daniel's dessert was inspired by Only Fools and Horses, and we were actually in the banquet, doing the banquet at the top floor of the Albert Hall, and Daniel had a pina colada cocktail a lot as part of his dessert. So I went over and I said, I'd done my main course and all the rest, and I'd gone over and said, Daniel, jump, I'll give you a hand. What do you do? And he said, yeah, you mix the pina colada, and he had it in a massive pot, you know, like a 50-layer pot, because obviously there was a lot of covers, and a steak blender. And he said, yeah, you mix, can you mix up the cocktail for me? So yeah, okay with that. So I grabbed the pot and put it on the ground and put the steak. And Daniel went, what the fucking hell are you doing? He said, I'm going to be known as a chef who mixes his cocktails on the floor. And he absolutely ripped. He was quite right. He was absolutely right, because I was like, yeah, sorry, Daniel. Yeah, back in the But that was another.
The thing is it's funny. On holiday last week, my missus turned around to me and said, Daniel, you don't understand the presence you have. And I said, well, no, I don't know. I said, I'm just myself. And she said, yeah, but even the children, you know, sometimes that they don't, when you're cooking, they don't know whether to talk to you or not, because you're so focused. You're so, you like things done one way because it's the way that you believe it should be done. And I think that is the thing that I'm trying to learn, is that sharing is, not everyone is going to do everything the same way, but the end of the day is sometimes you can learn by your mistakes. And I think that's the good thing about working with the younger generation, because they are clever. They do see things that you don't see. And that is it's nice to have that balance in the kitchen.
I've got a final question for you that going back to I know we've touched on ingredients and things, and it's from Sofian, who was our last podcast guest.
Sofian Masetfi, Orma Mayfair. What is your least favourite ingredient and why?
It's not the least favourite ingredient. I love it, but melted chocolate. If people are working with melted chocolate and there's a mess, then just for some reason it just freaks me out. It's just like I can deal with milk. I love working with chocolate. I love eating chocolate and everything about it. It's just the mess that makes just it just gets my just freaks me out. even when my kids were eating Nutella, my daughter was obsessed with Nutella, but she'd leave like half a jar on the end of the knife after she'd spread her toast with it, and I'd just be like, I'd have to clean it up straight away. So it's one of those one of those things. Melted chocolate, I'm like, get that cleaned up straight away.
Yeah.
Tip your OCD over the edge.
Yeah, well, but yeah, possibly, yeah. I mean, I have been accused of that. I think Daniel has as well. So
Massively, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both so much. I'm going to bring this podcast to an end.
So nice to see you, Chief.
Yeah, and you.
You look younger.
It's just that it's this weird light I've got here.
Yeah. Can you send some of that over here, yeah? Good to see you, boss.
Thank you both.
Listen,
take care, everybody. I'll see you soon.
Daniel, you need to get up here and do a bit of fishing, yeah?
I'd love to, mate.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Cara.